Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday Tea Time for St Andrews Golf Magazine. This week I'm joined by Les Bailey of Pro Golf Now, and we were joined by John Boyne, but he seems to have disappeared.
I think he's having some technical difficulties.
I think so, and hopefully Elizabeth Bethel, also of Pro Golf Now, will join us later in the show. This week we have two things.
Uh-oh.
Dubai and the DP World Tour Championship in Dubai. We'll start with Dubai. As Les has noticed, and many of you will notice, the race to Dubai has been won, but that is because of the excellence of Rory Mcilroy throughout the season. We'll talk about that later, but this championship in its own right now is a significant event. The players want to win it. If you saw my link earlier on, you will have seen that the players, Justin Rose, Henrik Stenson and Rory Mcilroy, were trying to emulate shots played by each other at the tournament. So Stenson, Rose and McIlroy stood up from 227 yards with a 3-wood or 5-wood and tried to replicate Stenson's shot from last year. And Rory actually hit a shot that was almost identical.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd like to see that because that as far as I'm concerned, that was the best shot hit all last year. Was
well,
that?
There's a plaque in the spot that he hit the shot. But it's a serious event in its own right now. It's got a huge prize fund. It's really rightfully the final event of the season for us. And yes, the race to Dubai is over, Les. And do you think that's a negative, or maybe from an American television point of view, perhaps it is?
Well, it's over. It's and like I said in the post, it became anticlimactic after the Turkish Open last week.
Yeah. But what I would say is you did have in the final series, even though Rory wasn't playing, you had obviously he didn't take it very seriously to start with. He missed the first event, but you had three guys that were trying to push to win the race or to get into contention for it. And much like our football season here, you can have a team that's running away with it, but wins the league or the prize because they're that much better and deserving of it.
Well,
so yes.
Okay.
It is anticlimactic in a way, but then it's more to honour Rory for his success, isn't it?
Well, if you say so. As I stated in my post yesterday, there's no doubt that Rory Mcilroy is not the best player on the planet right now. I don't need the Race to Dubai championship to tell me that.
No, but I think it's too. As I've said before, the American sports culture is very different to ours, and John will testify to that. That we don't. I mean, we have playoffs in football, but they're not for the league. They're for promotion to the Premier League. The league is the standard, and if a team has an excellent season and they run away with it, then they reward it. And it's the same in all sports, really, across the board: rugby, cricket, and golf is the same.
Well, based on my question though, that I posted in the blog was, what is the purpose of the Race to Dubai? Is it to actually crown the best player of the year, or is it a made-for-television tournament to provide some nice golf at the end for the players to win a lot of money?
Would you not? I mean, John, if you come in on this as well, it is a bit of both, isn't it? It's to reward the players that are in the top 70, say, of the Race to Dubai after Perth, and it's with this final series trying to be a bit more competitive at the end. But then you cannot, unless you produce the system. I mean, we're here not as technically minded as American sports fans. A point system that you can't work out just by going, oh, he's got this amount of points, and therefore, it's not going to work. And at the end of the day, Rory's won 2 majors, a WGC and Wentworth, and he's had 7 other top 10s this year. Nobody can compete with that.
Well, see, that's the point I was trying to make, though, is the race to Dubai does not necessarily identify the best player in the world. I mean,
but on the European Tour,
right? I'll take the case in point back to last year. You know, Henrik Stenson won the PGA's FedEx Cup Championship and the race to Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
But he's by far the best player in the world. I mean, and I also put it in the blog that how much of that would he trade in for a Masters win or a U.S. Open win or an Open Championship? You know,
sure,
or a Wanamaker Trophy. I think those 4 tournaments and the players actually identify the best players in the world.
Well, I'd say there are a few names I'll throw at you, like Rich Beam, Ed Hamilton, Ben Curtis, Sean McKeel. They've all won major championships. They're not even one of the best 1,000.
No, and I agree with you that
I think
Jeff Ogilvy.
Jeff Ogilvy won 3 WGCs. He's a good player, but
yeah, but he didn't win a. What did he win? A Masters.
A U.S. Open when you know, I mean, what would you if we're talking about majors or order of merits? Ben Curtis has got 1 Open Championship. Monty's got 8 order of merits. I know who the better player is. I don't need a major championship to tell me.
Then why do we call them major championships then?
Because they're the pinnacle of the game. But you shouldn't judge a player if they've won 1 to somebody who's had an all-round career, got 8 Ryder Cups and never lost a singles match, 8 order of merit. World number 2. That to me is a great one major.
Well, that's
yes, that player can say, you know, but it doesn't identify the best player in the world because it's one given week.
Let me ask you this, just off the cuff. Tiger Woods is chasing Jack Nicklaus's 18 major championships, and that's one of the most closely watched records that we have.
Yeah.
He's also chasing 82 career wins by Sam Snead. So, which is the most important record to chase?
The wins can be the thing I would say is that the wins. A lot of Sam Snead's wins some of them were team wins, and you have varying fields, etc., etc. Jack Nicklaus's record is so great because it was over a 20-year period, 30-year period, and he didn't just win 18 majors; he finished second 19 times. You know, it's not just about winning the majors; it's being about there being there every time you win the major.
But the point I'm trying to make is Tiger's quest to win 19 majors is really more compelling than who won the race to Dubai this year, or who won it last year, or who won the FedEx Cup.
Of course it is. There's no doubt about that. But in each year, the race to Dubai identifies the best player on the European Tour, and it's never been wrong. I can't think of a time where there's been a player that's won it that hasn't deserved to win it because they've played well all season. They've won 1 or 2 big events. For example, in 2005, when Monty won his 8th, He won the Dunhill Links. He finished second in the Open. He had a really consistent season. Whereas Michael Campbell won 2 events, a US Open and a World Match Play, but did nothing else for the rest of the year. So that identifies who the best player is.
Or the rest of his career, for that matter, you know. How would you have felt? How would you have felt this week had Marcel Siem actually won the Turkish Airlines and won the race to Dubai, or I mean the World Tour Championship this week, and the race to Dubai Championship? Would you have felt cheated? I mean, that's basically what Billy Horschel did to win the PGA
and I don't agree with this. I don't agree with the playoff idea. I think it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You
know? As much as NASCAR has fine-tuned their Sprint Cup chase format over the last 10 years, we still had one driver in 4 that hadn't won a race all year, and 7 drivers who had won multiple races who wasn't involved in the because they keep tweaking the rules, you know, to make it better, and it's really not making it better because it's difficult to have one tournament or one set of playoff events that actually defines what somebody did all year. I mean,
I agree. So, John, you come in on this as well, and
I like the idea. It's over the course of the year, and the most consistent and stronger players will come to the front, and he wins. Whereas we've got the FedEx, where they just wipe the slate clean, and everybody starts fresh.
Right. That's because
that's just a money pot, though, isn't it?
That's exactly.
Everybody knows that the best player of the game will finish 6th, 8th, or something in the last tournament. But he's the best player of the year. He only gets a shiny trophy and a lot of money, but he doesn't get the accolade for being the best player of the year, which is wrong.
Well, I see. My point of view is after the PGA Championship, I was ready to say that Rory was the best player on the European Tour. I didn't need 4 tournaments and a money grab to tell me that. I understood that.
Yeah.
So why not just, say, okay, this is it. Rory's the best player on the planet right now, and let's play this race to Dubai thing just for a bunch of money and some good golf. Which is what it is. It's some good golf. We got some great players in this last tournament. That,
I agree with that completely. It's some good players in the tournament. It's going to be quite good fun to watch. But you mentioned it last week. Is it a golf for the television or is it a golf for the golfers? Because it's the television audience in America is not going to be there due to the rest of your sports starting up over your winter period. And here in the UK, we'll be watching out of interest, I think, more than edge of the seat excitement.
Right.
Well, I'd like to pick up on what John just said. Is it golf for the golfers, or is it golf for the fans, or is it golf for the sponsors? Which are we talking about? I mean,
TV ratings.
Well, TV ratings are not what make the best athlete in the world.
Well, no, that's why I said
less.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you that most of the people who watch golf in the United States, if Tiger's not playing, they're not watching, and that's a travesty that shouldn't happen, but it does because that's the way it works here. If Tiger's not playing.
He's only got a few more years left. We'll have to get somebody else.
I know they'll have to find somebody else. I mean, they're hoping that Rory, becomes popular.
Yeah.
Jordan Spieth becomes popular, and now they're even talking about Brooks Koepka. And they're already starting to worry about how he's going to fit into the President's Cup and the Ryder Cup, and because of his time on the European Tour,
The guy's got cards for 3 years. just going around Europe and the rest of the world. They'll probably progress on the US tour in a couple of years' time. That's what he'll do. There's been a few of the American guys have done that. Peter Ulian's another one who's working away quite steadily on the European tour, and gaining experience, getting used to travelling, and he'll go back to America and he'll do really, really well.
And to answer Elizabeth, to respond to what Elizabeth said, the reason that the LPGA isn't being shown in England is because of TV ratings. TV ratings drive the sport.
I mean, the TV ratings for the general European Tour event are pathetic, is the word I would use, because they're on Sky, which is satellite TV. They get around 100,000 people watching them if they're lucky.
Yep.
I've looked into the ratings here, and so it's not for that. I mean, golf is sold as a package. Sky, the TV company, want golf, they want tennis, they want cricket, rugby, football. They want a package, so your sports fan can sit and watch whatever. So no, I would like to see more. I mean, this tournament isn't even being shown. The LPGA event, which we'll get on to speak about.
That's exactly what I was trying to get at.
But you can't generate interest without showing it first.
Yeah.
You can't say, oh, it's not going to get the ratings. How the hell do you know?
Thank you, Matt. Yeah. And why must ratings be the only standard by which? Okay.
But that's the way it is, Elizabeth. That's the monster or the big pink elephant in the room is the TV ratings.
But if say I was obsessed with ratings and how many people watch this program, I wouldn't be broadcasting dead opposite match when the whole of the country is watching the TV and I'm sat here chatting about because we enjoy it and we like to do it. And if you're a golf fan, you're gonna watch, no matter what. And I will be watching the season.
I will just say this: my wife loves to watch golf. She loves to watch the PGA Tour. She loves to watch the European Tour, but I can't get her to sit down and watch an LPGA event. She has no interest in it, and I don't know why. She's not a golfer. She's not a golf fan, but she loves to watch the PGA. But I can't. If I'm watching an LPGA event, she'll just meander onto the kitchen and do something else. No interest.
Goodness me.
I just hardly know how to respond to that. I think you need to interview your wife so we'll understand what's going on.
We'll move on.
I was thinking about that.
Now, and we'll talk about the LPGA, and there's, I would make a bold statement here that there's absolutely no doubt about it. The best tour in the world this year has been the LPGA. No doubt about it whatsoever. You have storylines every week, like last week, for instance. It was only after she won, Christina Kim, that I even knew about what had happened with her in her personal life. And I watched it on the Golf Channel website this morning, and it's quite incredible. And there's storylines, there's star players winning every week. Cello Choi's did 30 out of 31 events. I mean, you could never get Tiger to play. Well, okay, 47 out of 48 events would be slightly extreme, but he would never play 25, 30 events anymore. And no star player on the PGA Tour or the European Tour would do that. And it's just testament to the tour being so diverse, and their scheduling's good. You do have rest weeks every now and again, and that allows players to get on a run of events. And it's produced a climax. Even if we didn't have the reset this week, if you just elevated the points slightly for this event, you'd have arguably the three best players in the world battling it out for the $1 million. It didn't actually necessarily need the point system to be changed, because you've got Lydia Ko, you've got Indy Park, and you've got Stacey Lewis, all pretty close to each other after the season. And you've got such a big event this week. As I touched on, it's not being shown here. which is very disappointing because mathematically 9 players can win the CME Globe. Elizabeth, it's certainly very exciting for women's golf. I think it's worked.
I think you do a good job of representing this, Matt. I mean, one of the things that strikes me as very different between the men's tours and the women's tours, both the LPGA and the LAT, is the diversity of champions on the women's tours. There seems to be more people playing to the top.
Yeah.
And more rotation of winners, which I know that Les thinks that to have fans you have to have a star, and because we've talked that back and forth, and that the men's tours are suffering from the loss of Tiger, the absence of Tiger. I think he's really lost. Everybody else thinks he's going to have a comeback, but I think he's too old and too worn out and too broken, and he won't be back. But the women's tours have so many players, like you said, so many storylines just circulating. Let's go to the whole Christina Kim issue, because we had a chance to take a look at professional athletics and mental health when Patrick Reed came back and won, and when Patrick began to have an ascension on the men's tour, and even we could have picked up on mental health issues during his behavior at the Ryder Cup. I mean, I wondered if he was off his meds, frankly. But, you know, I was very aware of Christina's depression issues all year. I mean, I've been very aware of them for some time, and maybe that's just because I more closely follow the women's tours. Patrick Reed and Christina Kim raised for me some important issues about what goes to its players in terms of the structure, the expectations, the demands, and the very rigorous travel schedules. They aren't the only two people playing pro golf who are struggling to maintain emotional balance. I mean, it's a very, very hard life. I think it's one of the more difficult choices in terms of professional athletics, simply because there's so much travel involved, and you're playing against the people you travel with, live with, and basically love. I mean, the women on the LPGA and the LAT are very, very close. They're roommates, they've been colleagues for years, and yet they go out onto a field and they compete very hard against each other, and some win and some lose. So I think there's a mental health issue that Christina Kim would let us talk about, and Patrick Reed would let us talk about, and we're not talking about it. It's like the elephant in the living room, pink or blue. It's still the elephant in the living room. Golf is asking a lot of its pro athletes.
Yeah, it is a big issue because, especially as you get players, if they've had a really good time of things and they're up the top, and then you get a massive slump. For example, Oliver Wilson, who's the Ryder Cupper, he was reaching the top of the game, he was banging his head against a brick wall trying to win, 9 second places, top 50 in the world, and then, well, it just, the world fell out from beneath him, and he was outside the top, I think it was 800 in the world or something at one stage, and now he's won again, and he's back in the top 200, and so there's a real fine line when you're at the top. And for example, I mean, we will talk about it. Tiger Woods, my goodness, nobody's ever paid any ounce of attention to the difficulties he must have had mentally in the last 5 years.
I'd say in the last 25 years.
But he was at the top. He was absolutely unbeatable. Even when he was off his game, he'd hit it in the trees, he'd make a great recovery. Now he hits it in the trees, and he invariably doesn't come out again, in fact. But nobody's paid any attention to that, and he's lived a very public life. The breakdown of his marriage was extremely public. I mean, he actually came out and apologized for something that's completely none of anybody's business in public to the world. You had every single news channel carrying that press conference. He shouldn't have had to do that. It's nobody's business. But because he's a celebrity, because he's a superstar, he had to do it, and every move he makes is scrutinized, for the good or for the bad, and that must, for whoever you are, must be really, really difficult to deal with.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I make fun of Tiger and so forth, but I really think there is such a loss of privacy that goes with professional athletics, and there's no space to work out those kinds of kinks that the rest of us also face. I mean, human beings as individuals face those emotional kinks. However, most of us are fortunate enough to be able to close our doors and deal with them privately. So far as being at the top or not being at the top, I mean, Christina Kim was never a star golfer. Patrick Reed was never a star golfer. They just simply had a chemical imbalance that they were struggling to manage, and it costs them. It costs anybody who's dealing with depression.
I'll take you back a couple of years to when Dustin Johnson lost the PGA Championship to Martin Kaymer over the one of the 208 sand bunkers on that golf course.
The whistling cities, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was amazed at how he held that in and never showed any. You could tell he was disappointed that he, had done that. But look what's happened to him in the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
He held it in and held it in and held it in and held it in and didn't fly off with 25 F-bombs or anything, and it's taken its toll on him.
Yeah.
Because the press tends to stick a microphone in front of a guy when he's at his lowest to get the reaction, and then they're appalled at what they get. And I think that's tragic. I said about NASCAR for years. They wanted the conflicts in NASCAR. A guy's in a 25-car pileup. He's mad because two people shoved him in the wall, and the first thing they do is stick a microphone in his mouth, and then they get, they complain because of what they get. It wasn't a pretty response.
Well, it's quite a few years ago now that we had the great. Quite a few years ago now, we had the great trouble with Sergio Garcia and his Waggles. Remember the Waggles? Was that 7 years ago now? Where that was clearly a disturbed young man that he couldn't actually hit the golf shot and just couldn't let it go. And it's manifested that way for him, and he went through quite a heavy slump. He's came back over the last 2 years. Perhaps he's more settled in his home life. And that has to be a big break, and he's maybe not playing as many competitions as he was. Elizabeth alluded to it. Chelgar's played 30 competitions. Even Stacey Lewis has played over 25 this year. That's a serious amount of golf to be playing, and the players need a rest. And we're looking at the men's schedule, and we mentioned this last week, was that the schedule for 215's already started. Charlie Hoffman's won the other weekend, and the UK golfers already playing. Playing for serious competition. Doesn't matter what the top 15 or top 50 in the world. There's golfers out there trying to build and create money to have a lifestyle, and that's going to take its toll dramatically. And something.
And they've changed the rules to make it more, to push the good players into playing early like this again because of the loss of the FedEx Cup points. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I know it's good for the second and third ranked, tier players that get a shot,
So if we get back to talking about this week and how it works out, and obviously the favourites are Inby Park, Lydia Ko, and Stacey Lewis, and the reset. I think 500 point increments, Elizabeth, between each player, and obviously the winner. If you're in the top 9, I think it is, and if you win this tournament, you win the race to CMA Globe. What would you? I mean, really, with Michelle Wee as well, those 4 players. Outside of those, would you like to see one of the other 5 win and then take the prize, or would you like to see a shootout between the top 3 or 4?
Well, what I'd like to see and what I'm going to see are probably not the same thing. But, Michelle Wee was wearing her. Michelle Wee's not healthy yet. She had her brace on last Sunday when she went out onto the green and embraced Christina Kim. She had finished her round and put her brace back on her hand. She's not healthy yet, and I don't think Michelle Wee's a candidate for this win. So I think you take her off the list right away. I don't think Lydia Ko is in the mix, simply because I don't think Lydia Ko has figured out yet how to handle she doesn't know how to close out on Sunday. Closing on Sunday is a trick, and it takes a lot of mental strength. And Lydia Ko is a superb athlete, and in the end, after she's been toughened up a little bit mentally, Lydia Ko will take it. But I don't think this is the year, so I'm taking Lydia Ko out of the mix. I don't know what kind of state Stacey's in. She was sick in Mexico City. She traveled from Asia to Mexico City. Then she played at altitude, and she could barely hit the ball. And now she's back in Naples. If she's healthy, she's going to be competitive. If not, Inby Park's going to walk away with it. So who's going to give Inby a run for her money? Shan Shan. Shan Shan wants to win real badly. And I think that Shan Shan has the ability to win. I also think some people who are not on that list have the ability to come walking right up the leaderboard and give us another Sunday surprise, which seems to be the way things are going on the LPGA anyway. But the one person who's a wild card in all this is Kari Webb. And Kari Webb's talked about this. She has the ability to step up on the tee knowing what she wants to shoot and what she needs to shoot, and having figured out how she's going to do that, and then deliver that game. She has a plan going in for what the outcome's going to be. And if she decides she wants this, it's going to be hers. And nobody's talking about Kari Webb, but she is far and above the most skilled in terms of managing her own game and beating everybody else. She just needs to make a mental decision that that's what she's going to do. Kari's the wild card here, folks.
Nice one.
That's what I think.
I like Kari Webb. She's a great competitor.
Yes, she is.
Really, really tough.
So I don't think of the top 3. I think 2 are already out. I think Michelle Wee's out. Shan Shan's in. Chella Choi maybe. Chella Choi's due a win. Who's below her? I've lost track of the list.
Does Michelle Wee, is she under pressure from the LPGA or the sponsors to play? Is that why she's come back a bit early, do you think?
No, I think she's under pressure from herself. I really do. I don't think anybody's pressuring her. And she's playing okay, but she's not playing great. I just don't think she's quite up to peak performance.
She needs a winter break.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's obviously going to be a great championship because there's 72 players. It's a limited field. There's no cut. They're all playing for a lot of money. and the bonus as well. And also a key thing which I saw on the Off Channel's website this morning was the difference between if you win the race in the globe, and if you finish second. And I think it's a magnificent initiative, because if you win it, you get $1 million. If you finish second, I think it was 150,000. I'm sure that's what they said. Now that's fantastic, because it rewards winning, and it means if you don't win, okay, 150,000 is a lot of money, but not to these people. You know?
Yeah.
Well, any one of them could slide that over to me, because I'm hungry for some really good, big chocolate diamond earrings, so I can make good use of their 100,000 that they don't want.
Of course, but when you think about it, it's a 10-time drop.
Yeah.
You know? It's a 10. You've got 1/10 of the winning prize for second place, and I think that's what golfers needed to do for a very long time: is stop rewarding finishing in the top 10. Incentivize winning.
All right. Well, let's see what they do with it.
They won't do it. But in the women's game, I think they're not afraid to try different things. That's why they have 5 majors. That's why they have this Race to Sydney Globe, which is slightly different to the FedEx Cup and the Race to Dubai. That's why the players play more. They have a smaller schedule. They have a massive break between seasons. I think the first week of the season this year was February, wasn't it? And then it ends at the end of November. So they have 2 months. I mean, 2 months in the men's game. It's not even 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, that is detrimental to golf. In my opinion, there's absolutely no doubt. Now, what you should do for the lesser players is you should have more big field events played on multiple courses, like the Joburg Open, or like Singapore Open used to be, like Bob Hope Classic. You had more players. There should be more of that at the start of the year. Give these lesser players an opportunity, but at the same time, let's start the season in January. Why are we starting the season on both men's tours in November and December? Or a PGA Tour starting in October? I mean, it makes no sense at all, in my opinion, to do that, because you're never going to get. For example, Rory now, he plays Australia next week. The next time he will play is Abu Dhabi in January. I mean, so he's going to take. I mean, he would have played 2 events in something like 13 or 15 weeks. Why are we having these events that don't have the first event of the season should have the best players in the world playing it, because then you build momentum. It
goes back. It goes back to television ratings, and
that's a television rating issue, isn't it? The high-end tournament of champions finishes on a Monday, but nobody cares if it finishes on a Thursday.
But because the Fries.com and the Shriners and all those tournaments were not sanctioned for FedEx Cup points, they didn't get any TV rankings. But now that they're part of the progression and offer, well, look at the HSBC. I mean, it was at one time not given FedEx Cup points. It's a WGC event, but now it's got full viewership here in the States. It's a valid tournament. There's good players from the PGA going over there because of the points and the money and all that kind of stuff. And like last year, we got a guy that won 3 tournaments early, and look what happened. I mean, he didn't do well after he left California, but Jimmy Walker rode the thing all the way to the Ryder Cup, you know, and played pretty well over there, I might add.
Yes, he did. But yeah, we won't talk about the rest of the Ryder Cup.
That's all right. It's okay. I'll talk about it. We'll get you next in 2 years. We'll get you.
We'll have 12 captains.
we're going to have 12 captains and a whole new regime of what did they
Very
call
young
it?
players. Did you speak of young players? Cockney, Ramsey, God, goodness knows, Matthew Rogers, who else you going to play with? They're all going to be there.
No, I think it's. I do think the LPGA success is in the fact that there's less events. They're spread over from February to November, so you've got a couple of weeks that are off weeks, and the stars play and the stars respond. You only have to look at the list of how many events each player's played to realise, even though Mcilroy has been injured for probably the second half of the season, because there aren't 50 events in the season, like the Race to Dubai prides itself on having 48 events in 26 countries. I mean, 20 of those events, even I don't watch. I mean, the players don't really. You know, I think that golf needs to address this, and it needs to address it fast. I don't want to see one world tour, but I do think that the European Tour needs to take advantage of the PGA Tour going from to a wraparound season and start their year at Abu Dhabi, where you get several top players playing. It's a strong event. It's actually I think it's the second strongest regular field on the European Tour this season, above the final series events. I think golf needs that, and the LPGA has got a great finish because they've got that. You've not got players that are worn out. Even if Marcel Siem had won last week, he'd be shattered. He would have played, I think, what was it, 5 tournaments in 6 weeks leading up to the Race to Dubai.
With travel.
Yeah.
Traveling to Asia, to the Middle East. He would have won twice. He would have been absolutely bust by the time he got to Dubai.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, Matt, with George O'Grady now retiring and new Broom coming to take over the European Tour. We'll see what influence he has over the scheduling the next couple of years. He's going to put his mark on the tours where he's to the moment. That's what he's built up. And maybe time to, as you say, revisit and look at the standard and the state of the European Tour as it stands there.
Well, I think they need to give it to a player. I think they're going to make a big mistake and give it to a guy who's all about commercial power and business. Yeah, I think this. I don't like. Maybe I will bring out with a name, but his name's Colin Montgomery. He's perfect. You think of Monty. He is Mr. European Tour. He owns his businesses. He designs courses. He's got a business brain, but he's a golfer at heart, and he would change things for the better. He's not going to want to play 50 events a year. He knows a player would know what works best, and that's what I've thought for a long time with the PGA Tour as well. It's not just about commercial revenue, but it's about maximising those weeks that have got the best players playing.
No.
That's why the WGCs were created, to have the best players playing each other more regularly, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I would say that a player needs to be in a position of power within golf, not just an administrator.
Yeah, it's all about TV ratings, Matt.
But the TV ratings will come if you have more filled events with the best players. You know, the best players want to play at Wentworth. You know, they want to play in the Players' Championship. They want to play in HSBC in China. They want to play in Dubai this week. They want to play in the PGA Tour playoffs. They want to play Pebble Beach. They don't want to play the Bob Hope Classic. They don't want to play the Joburg Open. They don't really want to play the Turkish Airlines Open. They're probably just being paid a lot of money to play it. You know, they want to play where the best golf courses are. Look at the Irish Open next year. Rory Mcilroy being the host. He's already recruited Ricky Fowler, and I would bet anything that he'll recruit Webb Simpson because he played in the Walker Cup there in 2007. They want to play that golf course. Royal County Down is without question the best golf course in the world. I know I used to work there, so I'm biased, but it's ranked as the best golf course outside of America every single year, and it's about time that the tour took the events back to these places. And you'll see the Irish Open next year, despite that you've got a hectic schedule leading up to it, WGC match play, players, Wells Fargo, Wentworth as well. The Irish Open will get one of the best fields the whole year on the European Tour because of the golf course. So there's several issues that the men's tour needs to address that the women's tour has got right. And the fifth major question, when was that going to be answered? You know, the fifth major, there's no doubt about it, the Players' Championship is the fifth best tournament in the world. So I would say that the men's game needs to be not to be frightened of changing, and they seem to be stuck in a bit of a rut at the moment with this never-ending schedule. You know, there's events. The last event of the whole year is the Asian Tour, Dubai Open. It finishes 4 days before Christmas. The first event of next year starts, what, 2 or 3 days after New Year? That's not good.
Well, the PGA Tour is resting right now, you know, other than the Hero Challenge that's coming up in 2 weeks, you know. There's not much going on until January now.
No, but the players can go and play in Sun City, Dunhill at Leopard Creek. They can go and play in Asia. They can go and play in Japan. Like, for instance, this week also is Australian Masters, Dunlop Phoenix. Bubba Watson played last week in an event in Japan. So he can't complain. This is what annoys me with some players, that they complain about, oh, I'm so tired. But I've gone and played in the Taiheiyo Masters, which is a big event in Japan, but not anywhere else. They've gone and played in the Dunlop Phoenix, which used to be a huge event. It's got Keegan Bradley playing as well, Luke Donald. But they can't complain, oh, I don't want to play 4 final series events that are world ranking points, that are loads of money, that are prestige, that are against the best players in the world.
Isn't there some money going under the table there for these
Obviously
people?
been paid $1 million.
That's what I was going to say.
It has to be, you know. And golf needs a more condensed schedule, and you produce a better product. There's no doubt about that. It's impossible to bring a product of 48 events. It cannot sustain interest for that amount of time.
If you listen to Colin Coward on the In the Herd sometimes here in the States, he constantly talks about oversaturation of certain events causing the demise of those events, and he uses the National Football League as an example where, you know, you get your football for 6 months and then it's over, you know, and you have to wait 6 months for it to come back again, and by the time it does come back, people are wanting football, you know. If it ran 12 months out of the year, it wouldn't have that kind of reception when it does come back.
Well, but at the same time, people who are golf fans are typically golfers as well. And this golfer plays golf 12 months a year. Yeah. And I miss it when we don't have golf.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. That is why it's a good thing. You miss it, and then you anticipate the next season. And then your interest is spiked at the start of the season.
Well, then we're back to what's good for the ratings, Matt. We're not back to what's good for golf.
No, it's what's good for golf, because
ratings are good for golf.
The players miss it. The players practice before the season. At the moment, there's no time to practice before the season. I just think that you look at a tournament, the Tournament of Champions, which used to be such a big event on the PGA Tour. It's almost non-existent now. It's not even worth playing or showing on TV. Half the winners don't show up. It's so early in the year that players just don't want to play. Yes, it's Hawaii, beautiful place, great golf course, but if it was 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, it would get all the best players in the world. So I think that golf needs to condense the schedule and go back to the LPGA. That's why this LPGA's got it right. It had a tail off with the recession, and now it's come back, and it's got the right number of events. It starts at the right time of the year. It finishes at the right time of the year. You've got players playing a good number of events. You know, it works, and it's going to be a great end to the season. Have I made my point?
Yeah, you've made your point. You've made your point.
I agree with you. I do agree with you on this one.
Hurrah!
All right.
Okay. Well, anyway, it is going to be, even though I won't be able to watch it, I'm sure the LPGA final event will be fantastic.
Can you not log into golf.com live streaming?
No, it's not available outside of the United States.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
That's the zip code thing there, Elizabeth, with both trying.
So, and the Race to Dubai finale it is going to be a great tournament because they're all just out to win the tournament. There's no worries about winning the Race to Dubai. They don't need to finish in a certain position, so there's 60 players going for a win. So I think it's going to be a great week. So, but I would say that we've run out of time now. We've nearly reached 50 minutes for this conversation.
And I would watch out for Henrik Stenson this week.
Oh, the drums banging. Anyway, we'll see you all again next week when we will be beginning to talk about, well, we will be talking about the best players in the world on both tours. The St Andrews got.
I lost him.
Me too.
Yeah, me too. He'll put him back up when we least expect it.
Sorry?
We lost you.
Well, anyway, we'll be opening a vote for the best male golfer and best female golfer in the world, and next week we'll all be discussing the
Lost him again.
And then everybody else will be able to vote online, and we'll be profiling those players in our magazine before Christmas.
Cool.
So that's what we'll be doing next week. But from myself, from Les, Elizabeth, and John, it's good evening, and we'll see you next week.
Good evening. Cheers.